Hello, this is Dr. Hobble, and I'm going to help you with this problem where we find 75% of a lot of different quantities. So the first thing we want to think about is, what about 25%? So first let's think, how many groups of 25% are in 100%? And the next thing we want to think about is how many groups of 25% are in 75%. So to answer this first question, how many groups of 25% are in 100%? Well, that's a division problem, right? Because we're asking really what is 100 divided by 25. So 100 divided by 25, what's that going to be? You can count by 25s till you get to 100 because it's saying 25 times what is 100? 25, 50, 75, 100. So it'd be 4 groups. And then how many groups of 25% are in 75%? Well, when we just counted by 25s, 25, 50, 75, we said 75 on the third group of 25. So there are 3 groups of 25 and 75%, and there are 4 groups of 25% and 100%. So what we'll do on each of these for finding 75% is first let's find out what 25% of the number is, and then use that to find out what 75% is. So the first thing we want to do is for how much is 75% of 10 gallons of milk. So first, how much is 25%? And remember, there are 4 groups of 25% and 100%. So 25% of a number is the same as 1/4 of that number. So what's 1/4 of 10? Well, half of 10 is what? Half of 10 is 5. So what's half of 5? Well, half of 5 is 2.5. So what's 75%? Well, 75% is like 3 times 25%, so it's actually the same as taking 3/4. So what's 3/4 of 10? Well, that's like 1/4 times 3. So 2.5 times 3. Well, 2.5 times 2 is 5, plus another 2.5 gives us 7.5. So to get 75% of 10 gallons of milk, we could take 7.5 gallons. Now let's look at the road trip problem. So how far is 75% of a 2,000 kilometer trip? So first let's find out what's 25%. Or 1/4. And this one's going to require some side work. So let's go ahead and do the long division. So let's do 2,000 divided by 4. You might be able to use mental math for this one, and that's fine. I'm just going to show the long division so we can get a little bit of practice. So how many times does 4 go into 2? You could be working this with me on your paper or whiteboard. Pause the video if you need to set it up. How many times does 4 go into 2? None. So then we're going to move on by place value. How many times does 4 go into 20? 5 times. And 4 times 5 is 20. So then I drop my 0. It doesn't go into 0 any times, and we can actually keep moving on in the place value. Once I drop this 0, again, 4 is not going to go into 0 anytime. So 2,000 divided by 4 is 500. You might have a mental math strategy for that, and that's fine. I'm glad that you can use that. Definitely feel free to use that instead. So 25% or 1/4 would be 500 kilometers. So then what's 75%? Or 3/4? Well, we need to take 500 times 3. And that's going to be 1,500 or 1,500. So 75% of a 2,000 kilometer trip, that's going to be 1,500 miles. You could also think about 2,000, the 100% minus 25%, in which case you would do 2,000 minus 500, and you would get the same thing. So sometimes that's actually the better strategy to use. It's kind of just a matter of preference. Okay, so how long is 75% of a 24-hour day? So first, we're going to ask what's 25%? Or 1/4. So 24 divided by 4, what's that going to be? 4 times what equals 24? You can pause the video if you need to look at your multiplication chart. 4 times 6 is 24. So then, what's going to be 75%? Or 3/4? Because these are the same thing. We can take 25%, which was 6 hours, and we can multiply that by 3. And what is 6 times 3? You might use your multiplication chart to figure this out. 18. So 75% of a 24-hour day, that would be 18 hours. Thanks for working this problem with me, and I hope it'll help you be successful.